Right. It says it reconnected. Let's see. It says it reconnected. Let's see. It says it reconnected. All right. Reconnect. I don't know why it disconnected. Technology. All right. So Eugene is reading books.
Yep. I was trying to grasp the Book of Dyson and I failed my roll, so I had to do it again. With that.
All right. The Book of
I don't
Dyson.
know how much time it takes for each attempt.
The Book of Dyson takes 14 days, so you have 2 attempts to read it while you're traveling.
Yes.
Sadly, Eugene's grasp of English language is not sufficient. The contents of this book
Oh,
continue to elude you.
I'll keep trying.
So you spend like the entire journey poring over this book, and I mean, your grasp of English is okay, but it's a lot of obscure words and things like words that are used in like weird contexts. Things that just your brain is not making the necessary connections.
Yeah.
Possibly because like the book itself, it's a fairly old book, so it's not like it's reading like modern English. Actually, watched a really good video on like the Great Vowel Shift that explained how far back in time you could travel and still be understood. So yeah, so yeah, you're like you're either going to need to take considerably more time reading this book, or you're going to need to maybe find a translation or a translator that you can
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
On the plus side, though, you emerge from the journey with your sanity still intact. There are
That's always a plus.
no outbursts from Eugene during the travels.
Show off.
I mean, is that a byproduct of his failure to be able to understand the English language? I don't know if that's a win.
Got to take the wins where you can.
English is not my. I mean, English is not my mother tongue. Give me a break. Yeah. If it wasn't Arabic, I would be having a mental breakdown. Doing my
Shakespeare in
best.
its original Klingon. Yes, we get it.
All right. Anybody else doing anything during the travel?
There's nothing I can do to get power back, right?
Oh, let's see.
If I remember correctly.
What?
There's like a spell that sucks people's life force or something.
There is.
Yeah.
Hey, can we
I don't think I know it though.
Can we willingly submit to that? Like if
No.
Evelyn wanted to eat my power, it's not something I could submit to the ritual or whatever?
No, it is not. Just want to see if it's actually in any of the books you have access to. I mean, you guys do have access to some good spells, but
We can't understand them. They're in English.
Alright, does any of your book is in Arabic?
No, none of the books that you currently have are in Arabic.
Okay.
The only Arabic book you guys encountered was the El Azif back in Cairo. So Evelyn,
Oh yeah, I still have the.
yeah. Uh,
Sorry.
Evelyn spends some time like pouring through your books. There's nothing in here about any spells that would help you to restore your power. But there are spells in there that allow you to contact other things that could teach you such spells.
Are you implying that she can hire a demonic tutor?
Essentially.
Oh dear God. Okay, second question. Old woman's blessing.
Yep.
Is there a cost with that? Because I don't see any. I don't see any.
Costs you 10 magic points and 5 power.
Oof.
And that's
Ouch.
permanent power, right?
5 magic points?
10 magic points and 5 power.
Oh, well, God, I've only got 6. There's no way I can do that.
Magic points?
Uh-huh. That's what it says, 6 out of 6.
Oh, it's because your power's all the way down to 30. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I need power. Because I got none.
Chris,
Yep.
I had a flash while we were talking. We were talking about the books. I think we have one that is in Arabic, but it's not on the list. When we were in Carroll, we had a translation, retranscription made of one of the books that I could not leave with, but they made me a transcription of.
Okay. Let's see. Find my list of tomes.
Because it was a very powerful and dangerous thing that it didn't want me to leave with. It was from the same author as an economic one.
Oh, that's the that is the Al-Azif.
Yeah, I don't think we have it in the list of the books we have, but technically I left with a transcription that they made me.
You do. You can start reading it. It's going to take you almost 2 months to get a basic understanding of this thing.
Okay.
How long are we in travel?
Like a month.
Okay.
Anita,
Yeah,
I just wanted to mention
if
this.
it's okay, I would. I just
When
I
you
had
said
forgotten about it until we had the talk. So
Gotcha.
when you said you were desperate for more power, I was like, that is a villain in like a crucial story right there.
I don't know what you're talking about. However,
I'm not the only one.
Evelyn, yeah, Evelyn is feeling magically inadequate, which is not something she's accustomed to. So I think she's going to try to contact something to learn. Which I'm sure I'm going to regret.
This is fine.
Is that the contact the mind of the observer?
Well, that is a contact spell for sure.
Yes. Well, I have a few.
Yes. So which one
I
would you
have-
like to contact?
I have flying thing, mind of the observer, Nyarlathotep, which is probably a really bad choice. And then some summoning rituals.
So yes. So I guess the question is, what would you like to try to
Oh
contact?
God. I would like to contact something that can teach me a way to increase my power.
Say that again out loud and listen.
This is why Evelyn should not be left alone with a bottle of alcohol on a pot of coffee.
Or a book.
Or a book. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody probably should have sent her back to New York a while ago. Maybe when her sanity dropped really low for a while.
I mean, if we send you back to New York, you're going to be alone with the power to summon something that can grant you more power. So, not sure it's better.
So, Evelyn, what are you?
Yeah, I'm trying to read down through to see what these things do, but the way it's written up is really weird.
It's because they don't tell you exactly what they do.
Exactly. That's the problem.
You call it a problem. I call it an opportunity.
You are literally falling into every trope. Well, no, I totally understand this. I can totally control the demon that I'm summoning.
That's definitely not what I want. Yeah, I don't think a flying thing is what I want.
Chris, since we're heading to Australia, and I know that we can't get new stuff, it's not like it's the interwebs or anything like that, but is there like old copies of newspapers to give us the lay of the land or what's going on?
Yes, absolutely.
Because other than that, Alvin's going to get good at pinochle.
Okay. I like the kind of cutting back and forth between Evelyn and Eugene getting frustrated at his inability to read a book. Evelyn debating what sort of unholy entity to contact to increase her power, and Alvin's playing cards.
I'm playing cards against old ladies. And then we wonder why I'm the sane one.
We see the difference between a high sanity and a low sanity right there.
I mean, it's not horribly low, but it is. I'm down to 47. Yeah, mind of the observer. Yeah. So I'm trying to get in touch with a creature that can teach me to
You
increase my
keep
power.
saying yeah, like the text on the page is going to change.
Well, it does say to use using contact spells to get in touch with monsters and alien races, perhaps to learn about magic, gods, or alien species. So, given that one of those things I don't realize exists, I will be contacting them to learn about magic.
All right, there we go.
I don't know that it.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. So Eugene is playing, or Alvin is playing cards. There are some older newspapers and stuff. You kind of like scan quickly for the sort of things that you're used to looking for. Like strange murders or cult activity or unexplained fires or like any of the things that you've become accustomed to looking for.
Overturned upside down pyramids, giant 40-foot tall winged creatures, that kind of stuff.
Yep. The news in Australia is benign. It's normal. It's what you would expect. I mean, they were just coming out of they're basically kind of like weather reports talking about how whether or not they're going to see another scorching hot summer like they did the previous year, where like Australia set a record for like 160 days of like 40-degree weather or something strange. It was like nasty and gross. But Nothing that catches your eye is anything that like what you're used to looking for.
Okie doke.
What is Miles doing while everybody is messing around with occult forces?
Not everyone. Well, I guess
Right.
Pinochle and old ladies
Well,
might be.
while half the party is messing around with occult forces.
Besides reading on psychoanalysis, I guess, and learning about this interesting guy named Freud. Actually, there is something I would like to do. Do we have? I guess we have a text or two in English.
Yep.
You said we don't have any in Arabic, right?
You've got like
What about?
you've got
Sorry?
like a loose translation of the Al Azif, but it's dense. It'll take like months to go through.
What about Swahili? Nothing?
Nothing in Swahili.
Okay. I'm going to pour through the English ones, but I'm looking for something specific.
What are you looking for?
I am looking for any information on the dreaming.
Oh.
If I don't find it, I'm not particularly interested. I'm very narrow focused on what this is, so.
All right. Oh, actually, Song of the Jinn is in Arabic, but I think Eugene's read that one.
Yeah, that's the first one I managed to read. I'm gonna concentrate on the Zif from from home now that I remember I have a copy of it.
All right, perfect.
So it was 2 months.
2 months to read.
Right?
Uh, there's bits and pieces scattered through some of the books related to the Dreamlands. Nothing in any like singular volume, but having been there and having experienced it firsthand and kind of understanding like at a very kind of base level that the dreaming is like a separate reality people go to when they dream. You can kind of like, oh, this poem in this book is obviously talking about it, and this paragraph here describing this wondrous city is referring to. So there's bits and pieces scattered throughout the books, but no concrete like guide to the Dreamlands.
I'm going to take the opportunity to start my own memoirs of this or my own consolidated notes as if I was going to write it like my own novel or my own future text/tome for future generations kind of thing.
Gotcha. So concentrating specifically on the Dreamlands.
Yep.
Awesome. You can definitely do so. You can even give it a name.
When I think of one, I shall.
Perfect. But yeah, you can spend some time consolidating based off your own recollections, which at this point are starting to fade, kind of like a half remembered dream, and the stuff that's in the books and stuff that kind of comes to you like each night as you sleep, kind of thinking about this before you go to bed. Actually, why don't you give me? Let's call it a power roll.
I mean, he literally has a dreaming score. Can't he dream it? Or is that like specifically for the changes in the dream?
I'm thinking the power roll is more to see whether Miles can start to become like a lucid dreamer, so he has control over his dreams, which is the first step into being able to voluntarily go to the Dreamlands.
Dude.
So over the course of the travel, Miles, you start to partly part of your psychoanalysis reading as well is to keep like a dream journal, which helps you with your book and helps you to focus. And by the time the journey comes to an end, you're able to control small aspects of your dreams, like consciously change things while you're dreaming. And you know that eventually with some practice you'll be able to kind of move forward on that path.
Awesome.
All right. And So, oh,
Yes.
I was gonna find out if Evelyn is contacting the an observer.
Yeah, because what could possibly go wrong? Okay, what do I need to do?
Well, you need to sit there with your book, and you need to go through the steps, and you need to reach your mind out and see if you can contact anything.
Yes,
Which,
deliberately not trying to contact Nyarlathotep, despite his overtures in the past. Yeah.
all right. And since you have never cast a spell before, I need you to make a hard power roll.
Oh God, that's gonna go badly.
So I guess the important question is: does Evelyn know the Vorish sign?
I know an elder sign.
Nope, not the same thing.
Nope, nope, it's not. No. I know like the elder sign and the Sama ritual and create Simba and some other
I
summon and
I,
binding things and but
I need I need to teach you that one. It's magical.
All right. So yes, Evelyn, I need you to make a hard power roll.
nope.
Nope, that is not a success. So
Nope.
you have two options. You could say like, this is too dangerous. I'm not going to do this. Or you can push the roll. Pushing the roll will automatically succeed regardless of what you roll. But if you fail the roll, I will roll on a bad chart to see what happens.
And you roll on the bad chart, but she'll still succeed.
Yes, if you push casting a spell for the first time, it will succeed.
So win-win. You can't lose.
I'm thinking like, okay, uh I'll still have, minimum of 14 days to recover before we reach land. How horrible could it be? And then I think about touching a painting.
No, you summoned a dragon that destroyed a hotel. We're on a boat in the ocean.
I didn't summon a dragon. That wasn't me. I did summon something that took us to Lang, because I wasn't very specific in my request for protection.
Am I imagining this? Didn't her eyes go black and she summoned a dragon that ate a hotel?
Uh huh.
Did I?
Okay, just check.
Shit. Uh, Neither Evelyn nor I remember doing that. I seriously do not recall summoning a dragon that ate a hotel. I will have to check my notes. Uh,
It's not exactly a dragon like the restless otter in China. Don't remember the name, but
okay, I'm gonna roll a d4. If it's odd, I will push because I can't. Oh dear. Looks like I'm pushing. Yeah. Evelyn thinks back on what just happened and that something was birthed into the world and decides to push through and double down on this attempt to contact something.
All right. Make your power roll.
Oh dear. That's gonna go badly. And it's hard, right?
Yep.
Oh,
All right. So you're constantly you're thinking, you're like reaching your mind out, trying to see if there's anything that can contact, anything that can help you with your lust for power. And you're
Good
not
choice.
getting it. You're not getting it. And then it's almost like there's a barrier, and you force your will through that barrier. Um, as you do, so you do successfully cast the spell. Which is, I just need to look up what the actual cost of casting the spell is. There we go. 4 magic points and a D3 sanity points. Because you failed the pushed roll, those are increased. They are multiplied by a roll of a D6. I rolled a 2. So that is going to be 8 magic points.
I don't have 8 magic points.
All right, and then it is all of your magic points and 2 hit points. So obviously, had I rolled a 6, that would have killed Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
we
how
would have saved
much?
ourselves the roll on the bad chart.
And what was the other thing it cost me?
It'll cost you 4 sanity.
Okay.
And why don't you?
Did it cost me power?
Nope.
Okay, good.
And why don't you roll me a D8?
Oh no. One.
Oh, a 1's not horrible. Right. So Evelyn, as you push through, and you reach out, and your brain contacts something completely alien, impossibly old. And it kind of, you feel it. You don't see it. You just feel this brain that you connect with, this intelligence, and it definitely notices you. It says, the apes have evolved. Curious. What can we do for you?
I am trying to increase my ability to work with magic so that I can keep us alive long enough to continue evolving. Something is threatening to come here and kill everyone, and I'm trying to stop it.
What do you offer?
I doubt that you'll have much use for anything that we have here. I doubt that alcohol or coffee would entertain you very much.
I am not familiar with those.
Oh, all right. They taste pleasant, and we use them to alter our moods and how we perceive things.
Curious. You will bring these to me.
Very well. How will I bring them to you?
I assume you have not evolved past the need for limbs.
No, we still need those. Have them.
Then use them.
I'm just feeling this in my mind, right, Chris?
Yep.
Like there is no physical entity in front of me.
Nope.
Where should I take it?
To my home in the city.
Which city?
I have to actually read the name because otherwise I will not be able to pronounce it properly. Nakotis.
Nakotis? Is this city here on this planet? Or is it elsewhere?
It is here. It is close.
Is there an address?
There is no further contact. Instead, your mind is assailed by like visions of like mathematical computations that are far beyond anything that you've ever experienced. You know, like you see the meme from like A Beautiful Mind or the one with Julia Roberts.
Yep.
It's that sort of thing for like an hour as parts of your brain are overwritten.
Oh dear. Okay.
But you learn the spell known as Dread Curse of Azathoth. Basically, by repeating the secret name of Azathoth, which is lodged in your brain, you can generate respect and fear in any being that knows the mythos. Basically, you cast it on somebody. You make a power roll. If you're successful, they will lose 3d6 power, and you will gain 3d6 power.
Oh dear.
If their
I
power,
have to succeed on the roll.
if their power hits 0, they will die.
Okay.
As a note, there is no upper limit on the amount of power you can have.
I have to succeed on the power roll, though.
Yep, but it does get easier as you drain more and more people.
Well, yeah.
At the low cost of a d6 sanity per use.
I mean, if I can teach you the forest,
And that daily sanity resets every day.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You can pretty safely for a while kill a person a day to increase your power.
I don't necessarily kill them.
It's 3d6.
Yeah. That's only 18.
Mm-hmm.
Most people hopefully have more hit points than Evelyn does.
Mm-hmm.
Through
Just keep telling yourself.
Pulpy 12.
Just
You're
keep
gonna
telling
eat
yourself.
babies, aren't you? You're gonna eat
No,
babies. I
They
called
don't
it.
have any knowledge of the mythos. They have to have knowledge of the mythos for me to be able to do it to them.
Yep.
Cultists, on the other hand, well, they're fair game.
Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is bring coffee and alcohol to some unknown city someplace.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. Evelyn, after coming out of this little fugue state that she's gone into, is going to draw herself a hot bath and stay in it for the rest of the night.
That is surprisingly hard to do, since when you kind of snap out of this contact, you find yourself unable to see.
Oh dear.
At least you'll stop reading books.
Shit. Uh, I will wait for an hour to see if this uh blindness passes.
Not yet.
Oh dear. Um, I I will try to stumble my way to the door
Okay.
of my birth cabin area. Uh, and try to remember where trying to think of who. I'll try to remember where Eugene's door was from here.
Okay. Make an intelligence roll.
If I was intelligent, I wouldn't be in this situation.
That is true.
Apparently, I'm intelligent enough, though.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm better with directions than I am with speaking to things from elsewhere.
So you kind of stumble out, and you're like, okay, Eugene's room was to the left.
Yeah.
This is gonna be one of those hijinks scenes in a movie where she like accidentally tips herself over the boat over the railing, right? She's like stumbling around.
No, we're inside, I think.
Yeah, the berths are
I
inside.
can't see to tell, so. But yes, I will tap on Eugene's door and hope that he's there and awake.
Hello. Need anything?
Possibly? Yes.
No, I was taking a break. This English is breaking. Want to sit for a cup of tea?
Please.
Eugene's gonna open the door to his cabin and just signify her with his hand to come in. 'Cause he doesn't know that there's a problem yet.
Yeah, Evelyn reacts to the sound of the door opening. She kind of takes like half a step back and then waits.
Yeah, and Eugene, you can tell like there's like it's almost like she has cataracts. Like her eyes are like completely white.
Oh, wait. Has something happened to your eyes? You look glossy. Are
I
you
can't
alright?
see. I cannot see anything at the moment. And I
Oh,
would prefer not to be alone in this state.
oh yeah. Um, were you staring at bright light or anything of that sort?
No, no.
And Eugene's gonna put his arm forward and so that her hand touches his arm, so she has something to grab on, so she
Oh,
can guide her.
there you are. If I had
Yeah.
thought, I would have tried to find a cane
Um,
before I left, but I didn't.
is it something you think I could fix with eye drops or something? Or are we talking of something of a different nature?
Ah, I,
Like Eugene is currently medically bit. We can look at her eyes, trying to understand what could have happened.
You can make a medicine roll.
Oh, mess. Yeah, that's beyond my comprehension.
I don't know if medicine or drops or anything would help. I think this is more magical in nature, and I just need to wait a bit, I think. I hope.
Well, let me keep you company for a while, so I ensure nothing untoward offends you.
Yes, please. I didn't think well, Miles seemed to be seasick, and I didn't. No, sorry. Gary seemed to be seasick, and I didn't think Miles or Alvin would take this terribly well. So I
Yeah,
apologize for imposing, but I I think being alone would have been it's been a bad choice in the past.
yeah. Read any good book lately?
No, no, I probably would have been slightly better off if I had. Uh, you're a bit of a man of the world. Have you ever heard of a city called Nakatis? And as she's saying this, she's like, you know, checking, touching everything to figure out, oh, this is a chair. I should sit down in this before I fall on my face. Um, and being very kind of tentative and not quite as
Yeah.
sure.
You Eugene is guiding her as best as he can and trying to make it in a way that he can hide the fact that she's blind right now. Um, does that name ring any bell, Chris?
You can make a Cthulhu Mythos roll.
I expected as much. Um, I think I'm gonna spend a lot on that.
All right. So you're thinking about it. Think about it. And the only thing that comes to mind is in a reference to one of the books that you've read. Nakatis was the name of the city of the Great Race, the Yithians. who inhabited Earth several 100 million years ago.
Oh, it does ring a bell, but that's probably not something we should discuss in the wrong company, let's say.
Is there someone else here?
No, I'm just making a statement that to express that this is not a contemporary city. It One of the book mentioned the great ancient race of the Yitzhak. They supposedly inhabited like 10,000 years ago before anything we know or know about. So it would be somewhere on Earth, but not at this time, I think.
I'm not certain that time matters. It might. Hopefully not. I'm not very keen on time.
Yeah, I
Where
heard the story.
where uh what would be there today?
Make a
Oh,
navigate roll.
All kinds of unusual skills coming into play today.
Pangaea translates to a real place.
Mm-hmm.
oh, I would probably need a map and to reference the book to try and find you an answer to that. On top of my mind, I couldn't point it.
I need to take alcohol and coffee there. As a thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna keep my sentiment to saying that this is unusual in our line of business, completely impossible.
I don't know. Hopefully I'll be able to see before then.
Uh, I'll try to pour over um, the text I have, try to find a better way of pinpointing it.
Okay.
I hope this was an interesting exchange for you to want to go to such extent.
So after about 4 hours or so, uh, Evelyn, your sight starts to come back.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, is there a light in? She'll ask Eugene, and she'll point toward a light source in the room. Is there a light over there?
Yes, indeed.
It's
You're
after.
starting
This
to
is
see
after
it.
like 4 hours. I can tell that it's brighter.
Oh yeah, and In that time, Eugene was making small talk, serving tea, and trying to find in the book a way to pinpoint wherever that city could be in. Right. I've been struggling with the book of Jonathan, and I've been unable to try to piece it together because my English is, well, for translation mostly, not for
Hmm.
understanding.
Some of the books
Maybe we
are written.
could take some time to. Sorry.
Oh, some of the books are written rather poorly. Not exactly Shakespeare.
Oh,
They're convoluted, and sometimes they actually just sincerely don't make sense until suddenly they do. But yes, some of the books are
yeah,
rather dense.
vexing.
I can try to help you with some of them if you need.
Yeah, I was wondering if you give me some pointers. Maybe we could change some of the things shown in our different books. I think I've read some in languages that are less of your facility.
Well, given that I've only got English, and I've managed some Spanish with the help of a guidebook, so to speak, to the language. Um, but I'm certainly not good at it. Spanish and a little bit of French, but with French, I definitely needed the help of a library to translate. It was very slow going, excruciating. Languages are not my
Well,
forte.
I did find out some tidbits that could be of use in our work. So maybe
Hmm.
I could point that out to you. Maybe that could be useful for us to exchange knowledge.
Hmm. That sounds like a fine way to pass the time.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to read me the passages that you're having trouble with, and I will try to help them make sense um, while we wait for my vision to hopefully come back entirely, because it's going to be terribly awkward if it
Yeah.
doesn't.
I mean, if I at least can pass you some of the knowledge in the book, even if you cannot see, we can still get some things done.
Hmm.
But hopefully, it would be more practical if you could see things.
It certainly would, especially when I'm trying to explain things from the books that are in English. But that'll have to wait. I have, on the other hand, well, I've learned something that might help us against cultists in the future, I think.
Oh. Oh.
I think I can.
I've been.
I think I can rob them of their ability to use any sort of magic.
Oh, that would be practical indeed.
So we'll see how that goes. I don't think I'll be practicing
Well,
it aboard the ship, but we'll see what happens, I suppose. Didn't think we'd need anything like that on a train either, but
yeah. I found a couple of tricks and ways to prepare to cast a spell that make them easier to cast.
Oh, that would be
Seeing
lovely.
we could start with that before getting into more complex things.
That would be very
It
helpful.
has helped me tremendously with the Eye of Light and Darkness. And maybe when we have target practice for your new knowledge that cost coffee and alcohol, maybe you can try to explain that to me. If that's something to be explained.
I can try.
In the meantime, some of the passage in the book advice and that I just cannot grasp, I'll point them to you. That's the book that contained the knowledge that he used to bring us to the dreamland. And I
Hmm.
must confess that I am interested in being able to bring some people there eventually.
Hmm.
So trying to piece that together is of import to me and could help us
Yes,
in whatever we need to get done.
I can certainly help you with that book. I have read it. Um, Not a favorite, naturally, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, I'll
Smells
point you
terrible.
out some things I've found. I'll point you out the things I've found interesting. You can help me select my next reading with a bit more caution.
And we've done group book readings in the past. So it it was almost tradition at one point. We got quite into the habit of only reading in groups and having
That
guards.
might be maybe safer to get back to that tradition.
Hmm, maybe. We'd have to acquire some more tomes first. But
Well, I see the pile I need to go through, and I'm not yet done.
hmm, there are ways to learn things that don't
Um,
need books, but well, you might not be able to see for a few hours afterward.
it's not always just eye-opening, eh?
Hmm. No, not quite. And she gets a little more confident as time goes on uh, in reaching for where her teacup is. So, about how long, Chris, does it take for her eyesight to fully come back?
Oh, about 5 hours total.
Oof. Well, it's not horrible. It's not reassuring in the
Yeah.
slightest, but it's not horrible.
I usually try to keep her mind away from thought of just making anxiety about her voice. It jokes a bit around. Probably shouldn't tell Gary and Alvin because they'll probably
It's just like my
No,
bar mitzvah.
want to have a word with you.
when I passed Gary's room, uh, I think we should just leave Gary alone. When I passed Gary's room, I think it was Gary's room. His room is between yours and mine. Um,
I take her.
yes, when I passed Gary's room, all I could hear was retching and some
I mean,
muddled cursing about uh, the ocean. So I don't think he's doing terribly well right now. So
Yeah.
we should just let him ride it out in peace, or as much peace as he can find. I don't think
Yeah.
our attentions would be very appreciated at the moment.
So Evelyn, having made her deal and recovered somewhat, is anybody else doing anything on board the ship, or
Foolish?
anybody else doing? Anybody else want to make any deals with any unknown entities? Going once.
The only thing I know of is the only thing I know of is some of them are fire vampires, so I'm gonna stay for now.
Right. So the rest of your journey, you guys spend your time, resting and relaxing as much as possible for Evelyn. And eventually, so you guys.
Sorry, Chris, can I say that during my time after I do that research, I'm actually going to, you're not going to see me much for those 28 days. I'm actually going to see if I can improve my ability to control and manipulate my dreams. I'll even try and take more frequent naps. And I got a few ideas. I'm writing some stuff down like a memoirs or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. You can spend more and more time, kind of like trying to kind of push through that barrier between the waking world and the dreaming, between like what you know now are like normal dreams and what that barrier is to the dreamlands themselves. It'll take some time, and probably towards the end of the journey, you find that you can get to the dreamlands, but it's like a mental projection. You don't physically travel, but you can kind of will yourself more and more into the dreamlands. Is there any place in particular, like what sort of thing are you thinking about when you go to dreamlands? Are you thinking like the Plateau of Leng, you've been there, but if you're thinking of like a city or a desert or a sailing ship, like what sort of desires does Miles have when he does this?
I am imagining my home and I'm imagining my wife and kids.
Right. So yeah, so kind of towards the end of the journey, towards the end of the month of travel, and everybody's realized that you haven't seen a lot of Miles. He's probably there for has a meal, and towards the end of it, it's probably just taking meals in his room, becoming kind of more and more locked in,
Isolated.
more and more isolated. You can't quite get there, Miles. You know it's possible now. Like you imagine your home, you imagine like how things were, and every time, like, it starts off at first like nothing is right. Like the house doesn't look right. The grass is the wrong color. Like everything is wrong. But as you spend more and more time, kind of like building, you start to notice that the changes that you make stay. So like, say on like day 20, you finally kind of like get to like a plot of land that looks kind of right. Well, maybe that hill's not where it's supposed to be. And so you put some time and effort into like imagining the hill in a different location. But then when you come back on like day 21, the hill is where you left it last time. So gradually you are starting to change and shape that area into what you're looking for.
Awesome.
I would imagine you probably don't feel confident yet trying to imagine people. That would probably go horribly, horribly wrong. but you know for a fact that it's possible. Just need to find some way to find out more information about the Dreamlands. Alvin loses
Alvin loses.
loses a bunch
Alvin
at Pinnacle.
loses. Yeah, I lose $3 to old ladies.
Okay. All right. So as you guys start to get closer to Australia, the steamer ship that you're on basically it kind of hits the major ports on the eastern side of Australia. So you do have the opportunity to disembark at Brisbane, at Sydney, or at Melbourne.
The book is supposed to be in Melbourne or Sydney?
Professor Cowles is a professor at the Sydney University.
You guys expressed an interest in getting that book, right?
He's one of the few people we know of
So
in
far, the
Australia.
information that we have is the book is. And we know they were on the hunt for that information. Uh, so we know it's related to the cult. So that might be important. Do we know from which port the shipping company operates?
The headquarters for Randolph Shipping is in Darwin, which is like in the northernmost part of Australia. It may or may not. I mean, it's a shipping company. Probably has offices in like Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne, but its main office is in Darwin.
Well, do we have the shipping, like, don't we have a shipping label?
Yes, you have a couple of them.
Well,
Okay, so we'll have their address then.
or
yeah,
Our ship doesn't stop in Darwin, so we cannot go straight for the shipping company.
Yeah, the shipping labels that you have, the head office of Randolph Shipping is in Darwin, which is 1,800 miles across Australia from Sydney.
Ugh. Why is this country so big? It's an island, for Pete's sake.
It's a continent.
I mean, I suggest we stop in. I suggest we stop in Sydney to start our trailing from there, and we can always take a boat or a plane to get to other city. I sense that we're going to need to go in a different city in Australia.
They don't have a train system, do they?
They do have a train system.
Oh, how long would it? Okay, so we're landing in Sydney.
Yep.
Okay. How long would it take to get to Darwin by train?
Probably about a week.
How do you feel about trains, Eugene? I can understand if you'd rather not, and you'd like to try the grand experiment of air travel instead.
I mean, it depends on if people are going to try to set me on fire or not.
Does a bit, doesn't it? Well, if someone does, I
It is
would
easier to jump
have,
out of a train than a seafaring vessel.
We can practice the new tricks you talked to me about.
yes, and easier to jump off a train than out of an aeroplane, I would hope. I don't know. I don't know how sealed in they are. Not entirely sure. I'm looking forward to knowing. Um, hmm. I think I'd rather travel via train, personally. But that does mean a week to get there, and then possibly a week to get to Perth from there, if they have something that travels in that direction.
Okay, the main question is, are we getting out at Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane?
I think I would go down at Sydney, go look for the book. We can always take the book, boat or train to get back to Melbourne. What do we have exactly in Melbourne?
Nothing really.
Nothing?
Nothing specifically?
I think originally Chris made it sound like Melbourne was the natural port for this ship, but now it looks like
Yeah.
we have two other options.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we should go to Sydney and those three options, and then we can check for transportation to Darwin and for Perth eventually, as Perth is the closest we have to the point that was on the map of the ritual.
Mm,
But
the
we
pyramid.
definitely need to go to Darwin to investigate the shipping company. And maybe if we investigate the shipping company, we can find out where the dig site is.
I mean, they might know.
So I would start with Sydney, and then I would make our way to Darwin, and then probably to Perth.
That sounds fine to me. Um, Professor Cowles may have more
He
information.
might still be in America.
Oh, I hope not.
He might still be in America, but it's been a few months. So he might be back. But the book he talked to you about, he said he left Sydney. So we just
Yes.
need to deal our way to get access to it. At the worst, we can wire him with a telegram to ask him if he could ask them to let us have access to it.
I mean, we can try. We'll see how things
I
go.
mean, if Gary's stopped retching, probably he can charm his way in.
I mean, we don't even know where the book is. All he said, it was in a
We
city,
know it's at the University of
He
Sydney.
just
but it could be in his house. It could
It's
be in
in the
his office.
University of Sydney.
right. So if
Yes.
he's not here, if he's
Let's see
not
if
in
he's back
Sydney,
in Sydney.
then we'll find out where he is, and we'll send him a message by wire.
He is still in New York. He wasn't expected back home in Sydney until October.
Oh, God damn. And it's
It is like August 25th
end
by
of
the time you write.
August.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many days until the end of the world?
140-ish.
I mean, we can chill out in Sydney for 30 days for him to show up.
That is a terrible waste of time. At the very least, we could spend a week of that, go north to Darwin, see about the shipping company, and put a stop to whatever they're doing, and then come back. At least then we're not just sitting and taking in the heat. My goodness, it's warm here. I mean, it's not
I mean, we can
Egypt
just
bad,
send
but
him a telegram.
right. And he may
We can
send
just
one
send him a
back saying,
telegram.
here's the name of my assistant, here's where you can find the book, have fun. If we're very lucky.
I'm sorry, how do we know this professor?
We ran into him in England, or in America, New York.
From the notes I have, he was Jackson had a card with his name on it and a reference for his conference in his pocket when he died. So we
Hmm.
know that whatever research he was on was like important for Jackson research.
It was
So
valid.
we assume that it's related to the cult.
Yep. Professor Cal specifically was in New York giving a lecture on Polynesian death cults. Specifically something called the Cult of the Sandbat. And part of his lecture included a series of photographic plates that seemed to indicate some sort of like these four kind of monolithic pillars of unknown origin. And those pillars were discovered by a man named Arthur McWhirr, and Arthur McWhirr's diary is what Professor Cowles has and left back in Sydney.
So,
So of the three options we have to dock, I think Sydney is the most coherent with our plan.
it's a good place to start at the very least.
All right. Yes, you guys can disembark at Sydney easy enough. I will get everybody to give me a luck check.
I'm gonna be targeted so bad.
Someone luggage is gonna get lost.
So Eugene and Miles, you two, as you guys are disembarking, you guys are the ones whose luggage is searched by customs, so they find your weapons. So you guys will have to basically, because they're rifles, they're allowed. Alvin succeeded on his luck roll, so they did not search his luggage. So you
They
guys
do not find the written word.
they do not, and so basically, because you guys are like like non-Aboriginal males, there's like just go over here and get a permit sort of thing.
That's fine.
Oh, interesting little trivia bit for Evelyn. At this time, Australia actually has universal suffrage for white men and women over the age of 21.
Oh, lucky me.
If Evelyn was Australian, she would be allowed to vote. But yes, you guys. I mean, they do look askance at some of the things that you guys have in your luggage. Like books and like
Books that smell terrible.
yeah, books that smell terrible and
Or
a very weird looking mask and all of those sorts of things.
just a giant crate with a rock in it.
Giant crate
Yep.
with a rock.
Yeah.
So what sort of story do you guys tell the customs people about your strange things? I mean, it is a little bit easier because you're not taking artifacts out of the country.
We're starting a museum. Bringing stuff in.
I'm coming to the University of Sydney to meet a professor to help me identify those find, and I think he has the expertise to help me piece out together exactly their nature, so and such. I can play the academic card.
Right. So yeah, so the customs folks are basically, as long as you don't have anything illegal, They don't care, and they didn't find Alvin's Tommy gun because they didn't check him. So they do ask a couple of like routine questions, but they seem to buy your story. I mean, they have no reason not to buy it. And you guys are in Sydney. Sydney at this point in time is a bustling city of about 900,000 people.
Holy shit.
To put things in perspective, though, I believe, like on the map here, this area called Western Australia, all of Western Australia has like 3 million people, and Perth is like 500,000 of those, give or take. So to say it is sparsely populated is an understatement. The population of Australia in 1925 is, I believe, roughly twice the population of the 13 colonies in like 1776. For those of you who have any sort of like natural lore or history, once you guys are out of civilization, it might be a while before you see people.
There is no help.
A quick aside, I still remember on my trip to the Outback when I went to Alice Springs and we went to Uluru, Ayers Rock. The tour guide had been out in us in that part doing that tour so much that he was literally saying things like, and in about 3 kilometers or so, about 3 or 4 kilometers, the exciting part of this trip, we will be turning left.
Yep.
That's Alice Springs, which is Northern Territory. I have not been to the Western Territory, but yeah.
The large chunk of Western Australia is the Great Sandy Desert. It is aptly named.
Yep, and even Alice Springs in that part of the Northern Territory is also desert, being all out back.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, you guys arrive. It is closing in on 11 o'clock at night by the time you disembark and everything.
I think we're gonna do our usual routine. So find ourselves a hotel and probably try to grab a bunch of uh, newspaper so we can
Okay.
get acquainted with the strangeness of the place.
Chris,
I know some of it was done on the boat, but uh, maybe some things that are more current might help.
in addition, we are off the boat. I am paranoid again, so I'm assuming we're being followed.
Okay. Alvin, give me a spot hidden roll. So as you disembark, kind of gather your things, get through customs, start like considering like hotel options, things of that nature. Alvin, you immediately kind of go into like keeping your eyes open mode. And you do clock a couple of individuals kind of like watching the comings and goings. They don't seem to be looking specifically at you or for you, but you can tell that there's a couple of individuals that are definitely like watching who's coming and going.
Do they have giant
I'm gonna
swords?
try to not get any attention with my large brimmed hat.
No, Alvin, you do not see any large swords.
All right, I'm going to make a mental note of what they look like and see if they end up showing up other places during our travels.
Okay. Near the docks, it doesn't take long at all to find a moderately upscale hotel. Something that's, comfortable but not showy. Seems to be your standard modus operandi.
That is correct.
Something that serves alcohol and coffee at strange hours.
Yep. And so is there no prohibition out here, right? Alcohol totally okay.
I believe so. I think it was only the U.S. that really did prohibition.
Well,
I
there was
think
also like Egypt. There was a limited amount of.
Yeah, that's less that's not so
More
much
of a religion
prohibition,
thing.
and that's a religious thing.
100% agree. There just is access to booze
Yes.
for whatever reason. Alvin's like, oh, thank God.
You and me both.
According to Google, there was no big prohibition laws, but there was something about no new liquor licenses in a certain territory. It might be the capital area, Canberra, but
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Australia is divided into different states, and each state has its own government, and its own law enforcement, and all of that sort of thing. But you pick up some newspapers, kind of scanning like more recent newspapers than the ones that were on board the ship, obviously. And nothing that jumps out. No strange deaths, no ritual murders, no strange abductions, no unexplained fires, no tentacle monsters. Maybe
You didn't
the
mention inverted pyramids.
no inverted pyramids. It is easy enough to like get a room, get some room service, get some like I mean the food on the ship is adequate, but get everything that you need, everything packed away. Um, get some rest. I assume you guys are keeping watch because that tends to be the standard thing.
Chris, people
Oh,
are
yeah.
trying to kill us. Yes.
Nobody nobody is trying to kill you in Australia
That we know of.
yeah.
Yet.
that you know of.
Yet.
Uh, Evelyn will be able. Yeah, everybody will have had a chance to heal and recover. So everybody's
Hey.
everybody's hit points will be recovered fully.
Oh, thank goodness.
But unless anybody has
Uh,
anything to do during the night. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, who's staying up tonight?
I mean, we're going
I'll
to take
stay
shifts, right?
And we usually do.
I can take the first shift and we can switch then.
Whoever isn't me, if you see cultists of some nature, or people who seem to be associated with the bloody tongue, wake me.
I mean, if cultists show up, we're going to wake up everyone.
That's true. All right. Yes. We don't have our shoot first, ask questions later with us. All right. No, never mind. It's fine.
Alvin's going to look at her very quizzically. Be like, okay, that was the end of those requests. Nothing else weird going on here. I have no idea.
It's all good. It's all fine. Don't worry.
Right. So during the night, nothing happens.
God damn it, Chris.
Paranoid what?
But you guys get up in the morning. Nothing happens. You guys are. You're confident that you have not yet drawn attention here in Australia.
Yet.
Doesn't mean you're any less paranoid, just in case. But you know, so far in the 9-10 hours you've been here in Australia, you have not drawn attention to yourselves.
Chris, how do we get our hands on a conveyance? I know that these guys are going to need to go back and forth with the university and stuff like that. I'm guessing that there's a subway system like
so
there was before.
Sydney does have. They have like a like an intercity train setup. So like kind of like trams, streetcars, that sort of thing. There's also, um, and in some ways, it reminds Alvin of home. Like there are a lot of cars. Like there, Australia has a car boom very similar to what America had. Like a lot of people
Oh,
have vehicles. So you could buy a car, you can hire a car and a driver, you can take taxis, you can take the tram, you can buy a horse if you wanted to, maybe a camel. I
can we
believe,
rent a car?
yeah, you can like rent a car and a driver.
I can't just rent a car.
You can't just rent a car.
Chris, I'm a rather stealthy person. A driver opens us up to the possibility of someone spying on us. Taxis, because they're all nameless faces or faceless people, very easily they could be used to take us off on places we shouldn't be going, right? To so which one seems more secure?
I mean, you guys have money from Jackson. You could just buy a car and then you'd be safe and secure. Other than that, mm,
Okay, let's buy a relatively. And this is just Alvin. Let's buy a relatively common type car, common model and make. That'll get lost in a crowd, and push comes to shove, we sell it before we leave, or we just dip it.
We're buying a car?
Only temporarily.
They don't have. I suppose we do have the money.
And we don't have to buy a new car. What's the used car market like?
make a luck roll.
Terrible.
Not terrible. Terrible. Really, really terrible.
Why are the used cars more expensive?
Vintage? I don't.
There's a big market for them because people buy them for parts because driving your vehicle through the desert requires frequent repairs.
I feel like building a car might be less expensive than buying a used one. It's crazy.
I mean, you could dismantle your carburetor and clean it, or you can just replace it.
Okay, well, let's go with taxis for now. I know we have the money, but I just don't want to. Trying to find a way to. We're probably not going to be in Sydney long, right?
I
I
mean,
mean, hopefully
we're
not.
probably not. If we're
Okay.
gonna buy a car, I wouldn't buy it in Sydney because we're probably gonna be moving away from Sydney quite soon. The only
Agreed.
Yeah.
thing we have to tail in Sydney is the book.
We really
So
don't need to.
maybe when we're in Darwin.
We don't really need to buy a car until we're maybe in Perth, and we have to go into the desert to look.
Yeah.
Chris, are there
Unless
Jeeps in the
The
20s, or is it still like.
Sorry, what's that?
Are there
I know the
Jeeps
Jeep.
or like sand cars or whatever the hell traverses sand, or is it really just.
They use trucks.
I think Jeeps are a thing that's gonna come with the Second World War, if I
Yeah, that's where
remember
I'm
well.
thinking too.
Yes, if you plan to travel outside the city, the general recommendation is actually a couple of trucks because you're going to want to carry a bunch of fuel with you because there ain't no gas stations.
Okay, let's start with.
Yeah.
We're going to get some taxis. Let's figure out that hotel piece. I mean,
Uh,
the university piece.
for the first part, we need to find a book, and then we'll probably need to trail down the shipping company, try to find the excavation site, and then try to find this ritual site. things that are part of research for now. Uh, do we just write a telegram to the professor back in New York, or do we try to go to the university to
I think we should try the
secure the
telegram
book?
first.
Seems the most proper way to do it.
Unless someone's feeling particularly lucky and thinks they can smooth talk us past anyone and into an office.
Wrong
But I know
accent.
I certainly. I don't think I'm going to be doing it today.
But if we knew where it was, I could probably get in and get it. But let's start with finding out where it is.
Yes. So, a telegram and a lovely hotel stay. And keeping an eye out for people who seem a little too interested in us. Seems to be the way of things.
Right. So you're just gonna go to the local telegram office and. You do know that the Professor Cowles is basically like adjunct at I think it's the University of Syracuse, maybe. I don't know if Empire State University was a thing, but you do know that he is like while he is in New York, he is affiliated with the universities there, so you have a place to send the telegram. And it will take, at the very least, it'll take a couple of hours for the telegram to get to him, and then time for him to respond. So you're looking at basically a day of just waiting to hear back.
I'm going to discover an Australian Barbie if that's the case.
During that time, while you're waiting, no sign of any suspicious people. Like the folks that you clocked at the dockyards, Alvin. There's no sign of them. No sign of anybody keeping eyes on your hotel. It all seems very, very like low key.
It's quiet.
It's quiet.
Too quiet.
Perhaps. But around supper time, I'm assuming like periodic checks at the telegraph office to see like has anything come in for me yet, that sort of thing. You do get a response back from Professor Cowles. He says, assume in the telegram you sent, you're like, we were with Dr. Carter. We're interested in the, I assumed you introduced yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, yes. Unfortunately, I am still in New York. Stop. If you're interested in the diary, it is at my house. Stop. Professor Dodge is seeing to my house's needs. Stop. Bring this telegram to him, and he will show you to my study. Basically, like a letter of introduction via telegram.
Oh, that was very kind of him.
And then it does include his address as well.
That's good, because we didn't have it. All right.
That would have been a bit awkward.
A little bit. I've already had one person give me vague directions.
Yeah. And the telegram does kind of end with, we'll be returning home in October. If you're still there, we'll meet up, sort of thing.
Let's hope everyone's still alive in October.
Everyone will be still alive in October.
Oh, yes, of course. Naturally. Of course.
I mean, we still have 140 days that should let us survive October.
True. Yes.
I'm being
Alright.
suspicious.
None of us have. Yeah, anyway. Nothing. I'm not going to jinx it. So, are we heading out tomorrow?
Yes, I
Or do
think so.
we want to try to draw this poor fellow away from his evening reading?
No, let's give it till tomorrow. Let him enjoy his evening.
If we want him in the best possible disposition, so I would wait for tomorrow.
Mm.
More importantly, if we go early tomorrow, it'll give us more time with the book if we say we need to look at it. If we go in late, you'll say, hey, you can take a look at the book. And then an hour later say, okay, well, you guys need to leave because I'm going to bed.
Mm.
I would say the only advantage to
The
going
old
now
British
is
hospitality.
Oh, sorry, what was that, Miles?
the one advantage to possibly going now is he might likely be there in the evening as opposed to during the day, depending on what his itinerary and his curriculum is for the day.
That's a good point. But I don't know if he was watching over the house or living in it.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is if he works during the day, the evening to go there might be better. At the very least, we could make an introduction, and if it's too late this evening, we can basically schedule an appointment, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that could work.
No one is missing,
What
nothing's
time is
lost,
it
nothing's been
approximately?
stolen.
By the
So you're
time
good.
you hear back, it's probably about 6 in the evening. And the address that you were given, it is in the Camperdown, which is one of the inner suburbs. It's within walking distance of the university campus.
Oh, and if the person looking over is a professor, we can probably find him on the campus if he's not.
So sorry, it's near the university?
Yeah, it's walking distance to the campus. So, are you guys going this evening, or are you waiting till tomorrow?
I think we should just send a note over tonight and actually see him tomorrow. Everyone can get a good night's sleep, shower, shave, put on our best university faces.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
We'll leave Gary here to watch everything while we go on. Hopefully he's feeling a bit better by then.
Right. Yeah, you can easily pay a taxi to drop like a calling card saying, we would like to visit with you in the morning. What do you put down as your reason for the visit?
Research.
Whatever
We're
we put in, it's
friends
not
of the.
eldritch horror.
Um, we're a friend with Professor Coles, and we would have some. Uh, we would be in need of your help to go further with our research. And he suggested we contact you. Something in that nature, I think would work.
So yeah, you guys can send your note over quite easily. Get some rest and relaxation for the night.
A drink, a bit of paranoia, a bit of light reading,
As per usual.
maybe a couple of hands of card.
Basking in the normalcy.
I mean, we try. Try to remember.
And during the night, I'll get Miles to give me give me a dreaming roll, Miles. Ooh.
Oh wow, an 11.
So as you're sleeping, you're kind of used to the routine now of, the right way to breathe, the right things to focus on, the right, the right sounds in the room, like whether it's a ticking clock or whatever, that kind of puts you in that sort of like lucid state. When you go into your dreams, everything is more vibrant than it has been. Everything is more real than it has been. It's like the dreamlands are stronger, uh, closer maybe, but your connection with it seems much more tangible than it has been, like when you were first learning this. Not to the extent it was when you were physically there, but very, very tangible, very real seeming to you for the first time while you've been experimenting with this. It it's as real as the waking world is. And as a matter of fact, like when you wake up, you've got like little like scuffs of like weirdly colored grass on your feet that kind of like dissolve as the sun comes up. But for a minute or two, you manage to bring something from the dreaming back into the real world with you. You're not sure how, but you did.
By having grass stained.
Yeah. And like as you fully awaken, it kind of fades, but there's no doubt in your mind that for a couple of moments there, you brought something back. For the rest of you, the night is quiet.
Chris, as soon as we start making contact with people, sending telegraphs and stuff like that, I'm doubling down on my vigilance.
As soon as Alvin starts considering he's leaving a trail.
We've been literally targeted by assassins, both mundane and supernatural, before. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, nothing yet. There's like the brief moment where you think like you hear something in the streets like during your like midnight watch, but it's just like some drunken hooligans. Uh, but nothing that you perceive as a threat.
Oh, Chris, very quickly, I want to just jot these things down in the journal thing that I'm writing for my future book.
Perfect. Uh, everybody gets up in the morning. Everybody is still awake, alive, sane
So far.
so far. Everybody has breakfast. Evelyn, give me a power roll.
No.
Okay. Good to know. But you guys have breakfast. What does Evelyn have for breakfast?
Probably tea and toast.
What does she have on her toast?
Vegemite.
God no.
You're in Australia.
Uh-huh. I've tried it. A lovely person in Australia sent us a care package, and no, not again. um, Probably just like jams or jellies. Those are really the only other options.
All right. What do we? So everybody comes down. Everybody has breakfast. Alvin and Eugene and Miles. You guys notice that Evelyn, as she's eating, she seems to be savoring like every bite.
Of toast and coffee?
Of toast and jam and coffee.
I taste my toast and jam and coffee. Is it
Same thing that you've
good?
had for breakfast. It's good. I mean, it's probably like homemade preserves and the like, but nothing that you haven't had before.
I'm
As
guessing
far as
Evelyn doesn't notice anything.
craziness goes, this is probably the most mild symptom I've seen of any one of our friends if they've gone crazy. Am I wrong here? There has been no milder version of crazy than savoring your food.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if this is the best coffee I've ever had, but
I look at Miles. I'm like, did she add cream? Maybe she put cream in it.
perhaps they use different berries here. I don't know.
I'm searching for what she is finding fascinating in the food, as if like maybe I'm tasting this wrong. She really seems to be enjoying it.
I think she mentioned coffee in the thing in the sacrifice. Eugene is thinking to himself, trying to.
But you guys
The
finish
coffee
up.
was in the list.
It was. But you guys come, finish your breakfast. Once you're done breakfast, Evelyn, you're not sure how exactly you got to the table. And you feel full and your plate is empty, so you must have had breakfast. But you don't remember actually eating it.
That's odd, because that usually only happens if I'm very distracted.
Or very possessed.
Shh.
Is Evelyn like totally fixated on her food, so she's not even engaging in small talk like a hungry person who hasn't eaten for days? Or
make a psychology roll.
Is that for both of us? Or?
Maybe I just really hated the food on the ship.
Whoever is analyzing Evelyn.
I'm just wondering if she's like shoveling down food without talking, like a famished person, or if she's just like nodding her head and like as she's eating and not engaging in idle chit chat or anything like that.
Does she have horrible black eyes?
No, she does not.
She have horrible white eyes.
I
That
suppose.
was
Good
gonna be
question.
my
Good
question.
question, Mark. Good question.
Does
No,
she have a horribly colored eye that does not match her natural eyes?
no. She outwardly, physically appears to be normal. She's not like wolfing down her food. She's literally like taking like a tiny bite and like making sure she tastes everything. And she does engage in small talk, but Alvin and Miles pick up that there's like a little her speech is a little off, like she is searching for the right words. Not that she's trying to lie or be deceitful or anything, but like she doesn't actually know the word and has to take a moment to find it.
I've
Again,
seen
Chris.
that before. Evelyn is stone.
But Chris, again, this is the mildest version of any form of insanity that we have seen so far, right?
On the scale, this is not horrible at all.
Oh, I know what's happening. I love it.
No, nobody is bleeding, nobody is screaming, nobody is catatonic.
Guns are not being waved around.
Guns
Oh.
They're not being waved.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Dragons are not going to be summoned. It's the whole thing. I'm going to keep a toast for late. Like I'm going to wrap a toast in tissue paper or whatever, or a napkin, which I'm going to keep for later as an experiment. But like, I'm really curious if it's like she's obsessed with breakfast food or something.
Gotcha. All right. But yes, you guys are, once you're done your totally uneventful and normal breakfast, you guys have an appointment with Professor Dodge. And I think we'll pick it up next week with you guys going to visit him.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody can roll for luck recovery.
I always forget which button to click.
There's only one button today.
Now I see two. I have development phase and recover luck points.
Oh,
Yeah, the one for recover luck points.
I only have recover luck points.
It depends on whether or not you've succeeded on any skill rolls or not. Perfect.
I mean, I had 16 luck, so
I got 2.
I was
luck
expecting
back.
to get a big luck.
Right.
9.
Perfect.
Wow.
So we will pick this up next week as you guys get into the actual investigation of what's going on in Australia, and perhaps what's going on with Evelyn.
I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
I need to.
You're fine.
was
I'm
distracted.
fine. We're both fine.
I need to find. I need to find the location of that city fast.
I have at least
I really love that.
revealed to someone else that I have a problem. And it's not really a problem. I just need to make a delivery to a city that hasn't existed in millions of years.
That's easy.
I
I'm not
have
trying
been
to
through what
conjure.
you're. I have been through what you're going through right now in another game, and I absolutely love it.
And I mean, to be fair, Evelyn is the most experienced time traveler amongst you.
Oh, how sad is that?
Yep.
All right.
That's yeah. Unfortunately, I am.
All right. So yeah, we'll see everybody next week for more of Australia.
Yeah.